It's Joe Neely from joeneely.net, and this is the fourth segment of episode 2 of The Joe Neely Show. In this one, I want to talk about freedom and suffering, in particular, how those small moments of personal stifling, of self-censorship, how those little moments add up to big trouble. They add up to a lack of freedom. They add up to feeling trapped when you're not. And even feeling that other people have power over you or have trapped you. Very dangerous stuff. It happens a little bit all the time with fear. For most of us. Of course, some of us have had big traumas, and that's not what I'm talking about. Sure, it functions in much the same way, but what I'm talking about today is how to bring awareness to tiny moments of fear in your life. When you take a certain habitual action as you go throughout your day, do you notice that little bit of fear that comes up? That comes up every time you do that action? The awareness is usually enough to drive out those fears. And I have a quote for you from Deida, who is a yoga and tantra teacher. I don't know if he considers himself a tantrist or not, but he's, certainly in that world. He said, if you are waiting for anything in order to live and love without holding back, then you suffer. That's what it is. It's self-censorship. If you do something and someone says, hey, don't do that, well, you might not do it again. You don't want to hurt the other person. Unless they're a bossy person, you might just keep doing it. But in most cases, you'll respect people if they draw boundaries with you. The problem is this. We do things for other people that they never asked for. We'll be too nice to people. We'll censor ourselves when, guess what? The other person didn't want that thing. Whether we were holding in an emotion we didn't think they'd be comfortable with, or whether we were holding back an opinion, whether we were holding back wanting to do something, or maybe wanting to stop doing something and do something else. Any time that we are waiting to live, that we're just sitting around here as living beings, just clock watching, looking at the clock until the moment arrives where we can actually be ourselves. That was Deida's definition of suffering, which I think is really important for all of us. I also recommend Deida's books. I haven't read them all, but I like what I've read so far. I've really gained a lot of knowledge from him, especially because he's one of the few people who really would even talk about this stuff. He was the first person I ever heard talking about people seeing their lovers as light and all that kind of stuff. It's real. It exists. I stumbled across it a number of times, but I didn't know other people were doing that until I ran across him. So he'll always be special to me for that reason, and also for a certain masculinity that he brought to the otherwise very female-oriented Tantra community. And I hope that people can see him as a balancing force. But you go out, read his books, and make up your own mind. Let me know if you want to hear more about him, or you want to hear more about the other topics I've discussed in this segment. Like I said, this is segment 4 of my second episode of The Joe Neely Show. And I'll be back with you for one more story segment. Number 5 will be a story. So I love you very much, and I'll be back with that in just a moment. Bye-bye.